So I believe we are almost live. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and I have started my presentation as well.
okay. So I believe we are live now. So, let's proceed.
Yeah,
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for attending today's session. Um, uh, Rishabh, stop screen sharing for now.
oh, okay,
Sorry
fine,
about that.
no problem.
It's okay. So I'm just, yeah, again, I would like to welcome everybody to our session today. Um, I'm speaking on behalf of Omani Society for Education Technology here today, and I would like to welcome Rishabh Javad to this session, and also thank him for his eagerness to share his experience with us and bring his amazing classes, the online interactive classes or online stream interactive classes into Omani market or in Oman, and try to provide his experience to Omani students here in Oman. uh, you know and when I say Omani students, I mean students who study in Oman, regardless their nationality. So we're talking about students from public schools and private schools as well. Um, and I mean, Rishabh would introduce himself better than me, and we already introduced him in our social media as an inventor, as a entrepreneur, and
Yeah,
somebody who loves STEAM in a way that he brought his took his experience from from classroom learning into really doing something with what he learned, and we hope that with his future sessions, or the actual program in the future, it will well, I think will be within 1 week in Oman, that it is not going to be just information or lecturing like normally kids get at school or in any programs. It will be hands-on, where kids will see the practical aspect of what they learn in STEAM field. And Rishabh is a great example. He could explain what he did in this field. So I would not take much time from Rishabh. I just want to thank all the participants for their time. I know that because the lockdown didn't left it, people are, especially in weekend, trying to go out after being at home for a long time. So people who with us who dedicated their time, I know that they could have been somewhere outside with their kids, but it just shows that there's a great interest from these people here. So hands to you, the mic is with you, Rishabh.
yeah. Thank you so much for the introduction to basically a little bit about me and what the session is going to be about. So before I start sharing my screen and start talking a lot about myself, today's session it's going to be an introduction or a pre-cap to a STEAM learning series, a free STEAM learning series where we're going to talk about robotics, web designing, 3D printing, and and all STEAM related topics in the different branches of STEAM. So today's session is going to be a recap about that, me talking about myself, what has been my experience with STEAM, and the things that I've worked on, the projects I've built, and why am I doing these classes, and what the attendees and or that is your children will or yourselves will learn from it, because I think we have a few students as well. All right. So without any further ado, let me start with my presentation. Right. So, good afternoon, everyone present here. And thank you so much for taking time out on a weekend right after lockdown's been lifted to attend my session. And I hope you leave feeling a little bit inspired. So, my name is Rishabh Java, and I like to make things, especially things that help people. And I started making things at the age of 7 after watching a Hindi movie on, well, robots. So I mean, before this I had an interest in technology. I had a computer at home that I would use, if you can categorize that as like interest in technology. And it was like one Sunday afternoon I had gone to watch this movie with my family, and when I came back home, I literally ran to my computer, and the first thing I did was went to Google, and I was like, how to make a robot. As silly as that sounds, I was 7 and obviously had no resources, and this was like the most obvious thing to me, like the only thing thought I could do. And I did not land up building anything, but for the next 6 months I went through almost every web page that showed up on that search result. And though I did not have anything constructive that I had built, I gained a lot of knowledge. And my parents saw this interest of mine, and they got me this small circuit board that they so that I had to assemble on my own. So this is like the first circuit I'd built when I was 7. This is like a very simple clap switch where you clap and the light would turn on, and when you clap again and the light would turn off. So it was like a very proud moment where I'd actually made something after like 6 months of just reading about things. And it was after I built this that I was sure building things is what I want to do, and this is what really excites me and gets me going. And in the beginning, it was more just to do something cool and just impress my classmates of sorts with this, because I remember I had taken this to school and shown it to my teacher. The response was rather cold, but that was what had got me going in the beginning. So following this, my uncle, who that uncle who lives in the US, because I was in India, he had gifted me this Lego Mindstorms kit, and I'd spent, I think, from when I was 7 or 8 till I was 13, just messing around with the parts in this kit, trying to build different kind of robots just for fun. And when I was 13, I learned about something called the Arduino. That is like an open source board that you can use to pretty much build anything. It's a small microcontroller, a circuit board like you have in almost all electronic devices around you. But unlike others, this one's super simple to program. And I I learned about this, and I spent the next few months teaching myself about the Arduino, then learning about 3D printing and building circuits. And um, actually, I started making things apart, like away from the Lego kit, like actual constructed things. And I started making things with a purpose. And the very first project was this 3D printed prosthetic arm. It's called the tactile arm. This was a low cost 3D printed mind or voice controlled bionic arm. So like conventional prosthetics can cost anywhere between like 10,000 to like $100,000, whereas this just costs about $30. And you can connect your phone to it via Bluetooth, and just ask him to, for example, close. Just say close. It will close. Make a fist. Say, I think it's like point, and it does this. I don't remember the commands right now, but basically you just speak in the gestures, and the hand would perform them. Now, following this, I presented that at a few competitions, got a really good response, and also got a little bit of funding. And I thought it was time to take on a big project. That's when I discovered this open source 3D printed humanoid called InMove. It was in about, I think, May or June of 2017. Yeah, 2017. And so this is a project. It's like a challenge that builders take, because this is super hard to 3D print and like assemble and everything. And I was intrigued by how it looked, and I decided to take on the challenge. And for the first few months, I used the build it the way it was designed approach, not modifying any of the parts, just getting the designs online and like printing them. And yeah, so it looked like that. Yeah, first 3 months. It was a little bit of a letdown, but then I decided to rework some of the parts. And this was the second version, which where I redesigned some of the parts. And this was a robo receptionist. He could speak in 7 different languages. He had cameras in its eyes to track, follow, recognize faces, and and he could learn things very quickly. So if you'd ask him a question, if he didn't know, just tell him the answer, and next time you ask him, he'd know. And yeah, so after this, I built a third version. This was a blown out life-size 3D printed humanoid robot. He was 6 feet tall, including the wheelbase, and his arms were capable, had heavy servos using a gear mechanism. They could lift about 60 kgs. And I yeah, and then I was supposed to build a wheelbase, but then I started working on a few other projects. And following this, I started working on a range of mind control toys. So the guided rail car, the drone, and the remote control car that you see on your screen, these are all mind controlled. So you basically put on a headband that starts reading your brainwaves, and then you use those brainwaves basically to control all of these toys. The more you focus, the better, the faster they move. And the objective of all of these toys was to help build students' concentration span. So, like I told you, the prosthetic arm was like a low cost alternative. After that, we had the humanoid, which was meant to replace people in life threatening rescue operations. So, apart from all of the features of the robo receptionist and him being able to lift weight, you could control his arms using a Kinect sensor and see what he was seeing using a VR headset. So, you would just send him to another place, and from a safe location, a human could use it to carry out a rescue operation. That was the idea behind him. But like, I did not get enough time to complete the wheelbase. But I will hopefully be restarting the project soon. And then there were these mind control toys that were intended to build the students' concentration. So concentration itself, like just talking a little more about these, concentration itself is a skill. The more you focus, the better you get at it. And that was what the intention behind these toys, giving students an incentive to practice concentration. And having presented this at a few conferences and spoken to a lot of parents about this, I got a really good feedback about it and saw that there was a demand for something like this, as people, even adults and like students, really want to develop their concentration span. Just to shoot a fact at you all, the average human concentration span in 2011, as per a study conducted by Microsoft, that is the average amount of time a human can focus on one task before getting distracted by an irrelevant stimuli, is 8 seconds, whereas that of like a goldfish is said to be 9 seconds. So we humans were basically are in an existential crisis where our ability to concentrate is worse than that of a goldfish. Hence, these toys really seem to bridge that gap by giving people something to develop their focus. And now I've been trying to build a company around those, with that's called Broccoli Brains, which is the world's first subscription-based mind control gaming company. We basically build mind control toys and offer them on a on a subscription-based platform for you all to develop your focus. And I've been working on this project for like, I think, almost a year now. The humanoid also I spent a year on, and this project specifically is something I've done crowdfunding for, and I have a team of 10 people working on this with me, and hopefully we'll be getting this to the market soon. Right. So apart from that, like I said earlier, I like building things just for the heck of it. Like if I quickly just turn my camera right now, I literally live in a workshop. So this is my room. It's a rather small room. I have my hammock where I sleep in, like my wall here with like all of my parts, and my table as well. So like I was working on something recently, so it's rather messy, but yeah. I spend all my time just building random things for fun. So like this was one of the projects that I had spent time making. If I can show you all this video. So we were supposed to. I was in my senior year recently. I just completed my senior year, and um, one second. Yeah. So I was in my senior year recently, and I just graduated from high school. So in your senior year, you're supposed to turn in a lot of assignments and projects. And my buddies in CBSE will agree with me that there is a lot of things that you have to write with your hand. And I, for one, have terrible handwriting, not something that an external examiner would give me marks for. And so, like, I just put my whole maker thing to use and build this. I repurposed one of my 3D printers where I'd attached a pen to it just for him to go around, just like, move the pen around so it can write my assignments for me. The only tragedy was the assignment was not accepted and I had to write it anyways, but it was worth the effort, because it was something cool and I use it for other things now. And also a few other projects, like this virtual presence robot, Nyla, that I had built, and I'd use it at like a few conferences internationally, and I'll talk about that in a second. But like right now, I'm trying to repurpose this robot to help with the whole pandemic crisis. Right. So given all of these projects, I've been called to a few events to speak about my experiences as teams, similar to this sort of a conference. So the first such event was Campus Party, which was held in Singapore, where I was. Campus Party is basically an innovators summit, where it's an innovators festival where like people talk about all the different things that they're doing, and I was invited to speak there about my experience with Steam. And these are just a few pictures from the talk. I'd also conducted a workshop after that event where I'd spent 2 hours teaching students how they can build their own mind control toys. And I'm saying students, but these were all attendees that were like aged from 24 to more than 60. So there were a few people from like working at Oracle and like senior project managers and everything attending my session. So that was pretty cool. But it was at this event that I realized that I had a passion for teaching and sharing the knowledge that I had. And through this event, I was invited to actually speak and conduct a workshop for students at a village in India. So this was now I'm originally from India and I've been living in UAE since like 2013. And at Singapore, I actually came across someone who asked me if I can come over and teach his students. This this particular group of schools, they have 16 schools in like a remote village in India. It's like a few kilometers of Coimbatore, a major city. And I was invited there for like a 3-day workshop where it was themed on building human-like robots, basically on robotics. And the first day we had over 60 school students, and we spent literally time from I think 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, just 4 in the evening, sorry, just going over the basics of Steam. And actually by the end of the day they had all made their own small tiny robots that they could take home with themselves. And the second session, I do not have pictures for it, but the second day was engineering students. There were first to fourth year engineering students who had attended my similar workshop, about 60 of them. And the third day was like a mix of both of them. But teaching in like a remote part of India and in a village where they do not have as many resources, it sort of reminded me of what I was like when I was almost their age and I was in India. I did not have any resources myself apart from the internet to learn things, and that Lego kit that I fortunately got as a gift. I did not have anything to build anything. And that sort of made me feel like there was a hunger, the hunger for knowledge that I had. These students had that too, and I felt there must be a lot more that would have this passion for learning. And therefore I started this project right after this workshop, where I traveled to a few conferences internationally in Singapore, and I would record. And these were conferences where they were talking about the latest technologies, and about IoT, fintech, 3D additive manufacturing, and robotics and all of that. And organ events that otherwise these students would not have access to, I would visit them and like make videos of my experiences from there, and explain these complicated industrial concepts in simple 1 or 2 minute videos for these students to understand. And like this is like a free of cost thing where they could just attend my sessions, and like I would have live streams using this small robot that y'all see here, and this second version of the Nyla robot that I talked about earlier. And I would host panel discussions where I would get like experts from the event to like have like an on the spot discussion with me, and we talk about any hot topic. For example, the one in the image, you're talking about blockchain, AI, and IoT. So they're like really these are what the world is going to be about as we move into the future. And a lot of us will not even know what they are. And this is like my attempt at like getting giving students in like remote parts of the world that otherwise would not have access to, get them to learn a little bit about that. And just and then I again spoken at a few other conferences, pictures from there. And like I said, just continuing my love for like teaching people, I've conducted a few workshops in UAE as well. Now I'm just talking about my experience with workshops, so if you're signing up for this series, you'll know you're in good hands. So right. And so there was this a few workshops that I've conducted in Dubai. This was again on making mind control toys, and this one as well at a few different places, again with 30 to 40 attendees, and all adult attendees, all of them that still understood the concepts well and had something new to learn. Then this was another workshop which was about AI and building your own AI chatbot, like how you have Alexa. So this was them building their own chatbot. It was like a 2-hour workshop where by the end of it they had learned the basics of Python and how they could have their own chatbot where they say a certain wake word, and and it would ask you what your question was and would respond to the question. So building a knowledge base for it, and everything. And now, like I said, I recently graduated from high school, and I thought I would have a lot of time to go out with friends and like enjoy. But thank you, Corona, I was sitting at home, and I thought, now I for one spent a lot of my time in my school's iLab or innovation lab, where we had all these parts and like tools, and like how I have my workshop at home, things that you could build stuff with. And what I realized was if I was missing that, though I've graduated, I'm sure students who are unable to go to school because of the pandemic and a lockdown at home must be missing them too. And so I started this MIO STEAM classes series. MIO, that stands for Makers in the Oasis. So like right now we're 10 weeks into this series that had started in March, where I basically exposed them to platforms that they could use to continue that STEAM learning that they would have in their iLab classes, but how they could do it online without having to use any physical resources or having to buy anything as such. Free online resources that they could use. And I would break down every all the basic concepts of STEAM and and electrical components, programming, and all of that, and teach them how they could apply them online. So that was basically how that series was, and a lot about how this series is going to be. But specifically about this series, I'll talk about right after we talk about STEAM and the importance of STEAM. So now we often throw this word around and we hear a lot about it these days, especially. It's become like, those trending words that our school teaches STEAM. So like, you're considered fancy, something like that, right? But a lot of us do not know the meaning behind it or the importance of it. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It is these basic skills that enable all scientists and pretty much everyone to hypothesize, experiment, analyze, and evaluate. And you do not need to be an expert in all four of them, but it is the basic knowledge in this that really helps you contribute more to society, that helps you learn more and do more basically. And we are all on earth, all of us keep thinking about like what our purpose of life is or something. Now we obviously do not know what our purpose is, but it won't hurt to bring about a change before we leave, right? And STEAM provides you with those basic tools to bring about the change you want and actually leave a mark as you go. And don't just take my word for it. So this was the US Department of Commerce that said that. And okay, I've just been talking about the social impact that you can have with STEAM, but even if you look at it from like your children's or your own career, STEAM is going to have a major impact on it in the future. We know AI robotics is taking over all of our jobs, and unless we are updated with what's going on, it's not going to happen. And learning about STEAM gives us those techniques or that knowledge for us to be up to date with everything that's going on and actually contribute to it. Therefore, STEAM occupations are growing at 17%, almost double of the rate of all the other occupations. And people with STEAM degrees and knowledge in STEAM are having significantly higher incomes than those without it. Now, this is just in the US, but just to tell you all like international estimates, it is said 75% of people are currently prefer going into STEAM oriented careers because of better pay and better impact that they have. Moreover, it's 82% of people even in non-STEAM careers that find it important to have knowledge and build a knowledge base in STEAM and to learn about science, technology, engineering, and math. And these are like, again, international numbers. STEAM careers have grown 79%, and people are way more likely to hire STEAM graduates. But the number of STEAM graduates is currently on a downfall as people are taking up other careers and slightly unrelated fields. Now, given all of this, I think we all can agree on the importance that STEAM has and why is it important for us to build a knowledge base in this. Now, going back to the students in that remote part of India, and even myself when I was younger, now learning STEAM, as exciting as it sounds, it's often not easy. We all want to do it, but it's hard to know or find the right resources to use and the right tools that to actually get into it properly. Hence, I decided to host with my time the MIO STEAM classes. And now we're starting this series in Oman, where across this 15-week, starting with the 15-week series, the first 9 weeks, we'll be talking about the core concepts of robotics. The first 3 weeks talking about electronics and building circuits, and followed by 3 weeks of using microcontrollers and programming, and then 3D modeling. All of these essential to building robots and what you can use in robotics. followed by a few other interesting and engaging things such as web designing and app development. And right now, this is what's fixed and the classes and curriculums ready for. But right after that, we'll be expanding into a few other STEAM related concepts as well. Now, these classes that I have conducted, and basically all these classes that we are going to have, are very well structured, where they're 2 hours every week. And what day will it exactly be, we're still deciding, but maybe on a Saturday or one of the weekdays later in the evening. Now, these 2 hours are structured in a way where we start by talking about projects, by students' projects. So I hear from them what they have worked on, what their experience in STEAM is, and what excites them about STEAM, and if they have any questions or something, followed by a recap on what we've done in the previous sessions. Right after that, we have the proper class where I teach them about new concepts and the tools they can use to apply whatever we are learning about, using free resources online, followed by again questions from them, and a quiz where we discuss the performance in the end. So they have it's a 10-question quiz that summarizes everything that they would have learned in the session, and then we discuss the performance based on excuse me, what when what they understood properly and what they didn't understand properly before we conclude the session. And at the end of every class, so you can see these are the quizzes, 10 questions. They're played on quizzes. We do it in a game format where we have a leaderboard. So children are excited about, they take notes and everything, so they can answer better in the quiz and get a higher position. So they're competing with their friends. And we also take a survey that's like a compulsory survey at the end of every class, so I can get feedback on my teaching, basically, of how they thought the class went. And so far the response has been really good. This is just a snapshot from like one of the surveys from one of the later classes. And yeah, finally, if I were to further pitch the sessions that I take, I would say firstly they're free. So I want it to be available, and I want everyone who has a working internet connection to learn from them. Secondly, what adds value to them is I'm a student myself. So I'm just 17 and I've just gotten out, and I've been through this journey of learning STEAM myself. So I know exactly what challenges I face and what concepts are easy to learn myself, what concepts are more challenging, and hence I I personally feel I'm able to you know teach students in a way that's like simpler than what generally happens in a classroom. Moreover, we also talk about how they can immediately apply them, how they can immediately use these online softwares to build and try out the circuits that I'm doing. And yeah, I feel that's what really adds value to those classes. And as I'm coming to the conclusion of my session, I would also like to talk about a backbone, or a really important pillar of these classes, that is makers in the OSs, the community. Now, around all of these classes, I'm trying to build a Facebook community, a Facebook group, a social media group where students can learn from each other, where they can share their experiences and answer each other's questions. So this is something you all can do right now. Like, you can just go ahead and join these groups and join this group. And yeah, finally, as I come to a conclusion, I really strongly encourage you all to enroll your children, or enroll. It doesn't matter what your age is. It's never too late to start learning about something new. And you know learn about STEAM, learn about what's new and hot in the world, and how you can build your career in STEAM. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. These are all of my social media channels. You can reach out to me on any one of them if you have any questions after the workshop. And if you all have I'm here to take any question that you all will have right now as well. So anything you would like to know about the classes or about me, just put those messages in the chat. Right. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. Thank you. And yes.
Thank you, Rishabh, for your session, and thank you for all the information that you've shared with us. For sure, we will be taking questions. For people who are with us in Zoom here, you could ask your question, but just I would like to just mention one just quick note that we are streaming this to YouTube, and later on this will be recorded and kept in our YouTube channel. So if you do not wish to open your camera, we do not recommend that you open your camera. I mean, if you don't like, your image, or your video should be with us recorded in the channel. So you could just switch on the mic and ask the question. Otherwise, you have
Yeah.
the chat area. You can just type on your question. Okay. So before I take questions from everybody,
Oh, 1 second. Sorry, sir. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, I just gave everyone the right to unmute themselves, so they can unmute themselves if they'd want. Now,
okay. So
yeah,
Rishabh, just take down the the screen
yeah,
share. Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. So before I take question from everybody, as I said, I do not recommend people to open up your camera. Just open up your mic and ask question. So before we take question from the audience, I have one, a few questions, Rishabh. Uh,
sure.
so um, so basically, if I'm a parent, my question would be how easy is to apply what you learn in STEAM, or more specific, with you, you with your program. How would it be easy for kids to apply what they learn into real life and invent things?
Mhm. Right. So over the course of the program, over the over the next 15 weeks, they'll be learning about the very basic pillars of STEAM, things, the core concepts that can help them build anything they want.
Hmm.
Moreover, um, you know, given the the time, the technological advancement that we have right now, based on what they have learned from the classes, and I'll be talking about this in the classes as well, it will be super simple for them to immediately go and try out whatever I'm doing, either on the online platforms or just get the parts and build what they want, because I'll be talking about the core concepts that, and talking about how they can actually apply it to build something. And like I said, we'll be discussing projects as well that they can use and how they can build them, because it's going to be more about application.
Yeah.
Steam is nothing if you don't apply it. So I think it'll be super simple for them if they
Yeah.
just follow along all of the classes.
And the other question is, what would be the prerequisite for, is there any like preferred age or grade level that
Uh-huh.
you prefer, and also is there any prerequisite for student to join the
Yeah.
program?
Right. So now I have students that are as young as 9 years old who are able to follow the series. Obviously, there are a few concepts that are a little bit challenging for them, but for the most of it, they're able to follow along well. So that is like a good age that I say that, excuse me, the attendees should be 9 to 10 years old, and starting from there up till like any age. I even have like 24 and 30-year-olds in the series going on in Dubai, and yeah. So in terms of prerequisite for an age, about 9 or 10-year-olds are old enough. Apart from
Yeah.
that, if you'll have a working internet connection, that's enough. Because I'm talking about how you do not need any physical resources to apply what we are doing, and how you can use free resources available online on your computer to use them. And while you can do a lot of this on an iPad, I would strongly recommend that you have a laptop, because it just makes it very much easier for you all to follow along.
Yeah.
And maybe possibly in the future we'll be offering simple kits for you all to use that will help you all, instead of go away from the device and actually um, have like a brick and mortar thing that you can use to build what you all are doing, right?
Thanks, Shab. So before we take any question, I would like to make it more organized. If you have any question, please just mention that in the chat so that we can open up your mic if
Mhm.
you would like to speak directly to Rishabh. Otherwise, you can type. So we have one question from okay, Hussein Al Balushi. He's asking basically how he can join the program.
Mhm. Right. So, firstly, I think the Omani Institute of in Technology and Engineering will be able to come. To be, I think Mr. Faisal will be able to tell you exactly how that would work better. But now, as you all are on this session, means we have your email addresses as you all have registered for this. So if you all are on this session, you all will be the first ones to receive the invitation to sign up for the classes. And like we mentioned earlier, we're hoping to start this series by next Saturday. So we'll be having another campaign going out on social media and a few other online platforms for you all to sign up for them. So just keep your eyes open for them and just keep checking your email if you all are a part of this session, as you will receive an invite to
Yeah,
this.
that's true. As Shab mentioned, that Omani Society for Education Technology will be, announcing soon about the program and also the registration process. And because you guys are registered with us into this session, we have your email addresses. So you will be the first who, people will get the invite. And after that, we will send an invite in public for general registration. So, and I don't know if this is something you can answer. There's one question from Yahya Waqas asking about how much is a 3D printer. So
Okay.
before Rishabh would answer, um, you know, as Omani Society for Education Technology, we have partners. We have not only partners, we have a lot of even experts in this field. We could invite them later on, along with Rishabh's, session on 3D printer, where you can ask this kind of question about the pricing, where they can get 3D printer, and also different models of 3D printer. So that's my answer. I don't know, Rishabh, if you have another answer.
Yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it. So if you follow along the series of classes as we come to talking about 3D printing, I'll be able to give you all a much much more meaningful answer to that. Because 3D printers, they're like of six different types: SLA, SLS, FDM, FFF, and they all are priced differently. They're capable of different things. So we'll be spending an entire class talking about those. And for those of you who are interested in having your own 3D printer, you'll learn where
Mhm.
you can get those and how much you have to pay for what kind.
So, I mean, I know I get a lot of interesting questions here. So, I would
Yeah.
prefer the question would be on about the training program that Rishabh is gonna have, rather than just general STEAM, or science and engineering related questions. So, but anyway, I'm gonna take one of the questions here that I have from Atiya Muhammad. Can you invent a cheaper 3D printer?
Right. So honestly speaking, 3D printers, contrary to popular belief, are already pretty cheap. If you, like I said, when once we start talking about those, the 3D printers you know, that are super cheap. Like I have like five 3D printers at my house. So like three that I had bought like really cheap prices and two that I had won at a competition. But having to invent cheaper, maybe I'd not do that myself because I like building robots and things related to a little more random. But I can give you the skills that you need to build your own in the classes. So I say if you join the series, I can tell you what you would need to build your own, maybe. So that's
So
how I'd
we
answer.
we have a clap from Tanisha. I don't know if you know her. Basically, just she's giving you thumb up. Now,
Yes.
anybody have any question? Please let us know. As well, Muhammad Adil is also giving you thumb up. So,
Thank you.
anybody have any question before we close the session? Please, if you have, just open up your mic and ask directly your question, please.
Okay.
Okay, and Yahya Waqas asking how long will a STEAM class be? So, the
Yeah.
full program and also each session.
Mhm. Right. So each session so the each session is going to be about 2 hours, but the full program, 1.5 hours to 2 hours, and the whole program right now we have a curriculum that's ready for 15 weeks, but we'll be expanding on that, calling in guest speakers and experts to conduct these classes.
So there is a question from my buddy actually, my friend Salman Belushi is asking about what are the timing for the next class. So I think usually the usual timing was that we do it on Saturday around 4:30 p.m. But but because of the situation now and the lockdown is lifted, we understand more and more people are getting out or spending time outside, not necessarily mixing with people, just going around with cars or something like that. So we're still gonna be evaluating, the right timing. So before this session start, I was discussing with Rishabh about the opportunity we might do it maybe during weekdays, but later like an afternoons, session. So we're still looking into different options to judge, and of course, I think each session would be 2 hours. Rishabh,
Yeah,
just correct
one
me.
and a half hours to 2 hours,
Yeah,
depending on the topic that we're covering.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I think somebody was asking question. We just lost.
Yeah, I think we could not hear what they were saying. Could you repeat that? Uh, okay, no, I think there was. Let's just take the question in the chat button. I think they can just repeat your question in case you're still wondering what. In case you want to ask us. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. So, how much is the course? It's a free program, so we're not
Yes.
charging anything
Yeah.
from anybody. It's a free course, and our intention as Omani Society for Education Technology is to provide a good experience for kids while they are home. We understand that many kids are used to spend the summer and going out, like traveling abroad, but unfortunately because of the restrictions and the travel restrictions, or even because of the disease, much parents will not prefer this year to go abroad. And because especially in Oman, I know many students missed out, big chunk of the curriculum, unfortunately. And that's also our concern as a society, that when next semester starts, student missed out a lot this year. Uh, and 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 science, mathematics, engineering, technology, these is really crucial subject, and it's not easy to cover what they missed in just 1 2 weeks. That's why we are pushing this program and also other programs for kids to learn STEM, and also apply STEM. So basically, in the future, we are in discussion currently with a lot of organization to try to sponsor this program, sponsor the kids who attend this program by providing with kits, with useful kits, I mean, to apply what they learn, and make sure that this is going to be a really powerful experience for them rather than just lectures. So it's free. Okay.
I
Somewhat.
know. So if you do not mind, can I just add something to
Yeah.
that answer?
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Thank you. Yeah. So basically, like I've been saying, there's no reason for you not to join these classes. It's STEAM learning that's available to everyone, and the best part is it's absolutely free. So this is, in a way, my way of trying to give back to the community that I've learned from, and I feel it's important for STEAM learning should be available to everyone because it's that important. It should it's like a basic thing. Like it's that important for our future. Hence, these classes are completely free, and anyone can register and enroll, irrespective of their age or where they're from. Yeah, and they're online, and all resources will be using are available online, so you can be anywhere in the world and you can sign up.
Yeah. So there's a question from it was here. Sorry. Um, Safwat Bayumi. Um, he said that I've just come now. What is the meeting about? Okay,
Yeah.
so Safwat, you would not miss anything, because there will be a copy of this session in our YouTube channel. I will I'll just post the link here in the chat area. You can check the channel. You can subscribe to the channel, and also check channel later on. You will find the meeting is recorded there for you, so you will not miss anything. Okay. Okay, what is okay?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone will check the progress. A question from Yahya Waqas. Of course, because all the sessions will be recorded, and also all the sessions will be evaluated by us and Rishabh himself as well. and checking the progress. Actually, if you hear, if you attended, from the beginning, you will know that what Rishabh mentioned is that his session would not be like normal lectures. It will actually start with asking students what they did and how they applied and how they did. And I've previously attended, few of Rishabh sessions where kids actually apply what they learn, and then they bring their experience, and show, what they did, and ask Rishabh to give them feedback. So that's one thing that we can do. And of course, as the program progress, there will be a part where we will discuss with Rishabh the assessment and different means of assessment, um, especially when kids come, through their parents, and some schools also, they might bring their students. In this case, yes, we would be evaluating, progress, and sending feedback, to their organization or to their parents. And hopefully we'll be all able, with Rishabh, to, after the whole program is done, to, we will try our best to accredit this program, or at least, certify it, and give students certificate as well.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll be having a quiz at the end of every session, and we discuss the responses. If there are some concepts where a lot of students have got the answer incorrect, in that case, we find out, we bridge that gap basically. I fill in that learning gap that might have been created as to why they were not able to answer that question. So as the sessions are going on, we also, discuss. I also discuss the progress with them and if they've learned everything properly. And all those social media channels that I shared with you all, I and all this social media channels I shared with you all, they're available to students as well. So I have students writing me emails and sending me messages on WhatsApp and Instagram asking me about some project that they're working on or any doubts from the classes. And just one more thing was, at the end of every class, I also give them a small homework that they can, for them to apply what they've learned in the class, and then send me a screenshot of that working on my email. And that's again something to make sure that they've learned everything that I tried to cover in the class. So a lot of systems put in place, and like Mr. Faisal said, we'll also be um, hopefully positively actually putting in an assessment system into our curriculum for them to use.
Yeah. There's a really good question from Hussein Ablushi.
Yeah.
And before reading this, question, I would ask Hussein if he could, directly, ask this question here in the meeting. Could you, Hussein, just unmute yourself and ask the question directly?
Hello guys.
Hi, Hassan.
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm well, thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, I want to make a autonomous robot. I want to program it. It will land itself and fly by itself. Is there will be any classes about it?
Mhm. Right. So now, like I've been saying, like to build anything that's autonomous or robotic, it's like if you're trying to build a building, it's very important you first understand how to lay the foundation, and for example, how do you mix cement? So the first few weeks in the classes, we will be um, going into those basics, so you know all the basics that you need to build an autonomous drone, and then you can try doing it on your own. And if that's not working out, and we have enough students interested in drones and autonomous machines, then we'll have a separate session conducted either by me or by a third party expert, like 2 hours just talking about drones and autonomous machines.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
So that answers your question, Hussein.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it will.
Yeah.
That
So
is.
hope to see you in the workshop,
Yeah.
in upcoming workshop. So there is
Inshallah.
yeah, thank you. There's another question from Salman Blushi. So I would like Salman to open his mic and ask the question directly, please, Salman.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Salman.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is like, for example, somebody registered to your class, okay? And it's, as you said, it's like a 16-week class. So for, let's say, it's the person is in between like 4th or 5th week, and for some reason they cannot like attend that class. So there's a recording of the class. Faisal already mentioned that. So they will be also able to follow up with their like assignments and everything that you provide them in next week.
Yeah. So as they watch the recording, they'll know what the homework is at the end of the class, and they also have, the quiz link remains open throughout the week. So whenever they watch the recording, they can just go ahead and do the quiz. Moreover, if the recording, if it's a little difficult for them to watch it, that's why I have like 15 minutes allocated to do a recap from the previous class, where the core concepts that they need to follow along in that day's class, I go over them as well. Yeah, so they will
Yeah,
be
that's
able,
it.
in case they
Thanks.
miss a class, it
Yeah,
shouldn't be a problem.
cool. Thanks.
And I think, Rishabh, you have also you mentioned about the Facebook page. They could
Yeah.
also go there, interact with you as well, right?
Yes. So that Facebook group, we're trying to build a community for you all to, speak, learn from each other and ask each other questions. I'm very active and I follow that, try to follow that actively as well. We're just trying to, build more activity there. So you can go ahead and follow that thing, and you have any questions, you all can share that there, anything new or like interesting. Even if they're YouTube videos, post them there, and you can start discussions, and it's like a proper forum for like makers in the Oasis, that is UAE, Oman, and this Arab region.
Great. So if you check the chat session, chat area, I just send you the link to the YouTube channel, or the YouTube link to current session, and you can go there and also subscribe to the Omani Society of Education Technologies channel. So that for any future training workshop, either Rishab's or even others, you will find it there and get notified if you enable the notification. So I'll now, let's see, in 1-2 minutes, if you have any question, please either write it here or ask directly. I have people who ask about Rishab's email.
Mm.
You can get that, if you go to the recording, you see that also.
Yeah.
Rishab, I think
Can I put it in the chat?
you can, yeah, please.
Yeah, that's chat. And like,
Yeah.
my name spelled as Rishabh Java, so you can find me on pretty much any social media platform. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have it there, in the chat. You can check the email there, and let's see in 2 minutes if there's any question, we take it. Otherwise, we'll just end the session.
Yeah.
So anybody would like to ask, please just open up your mic and ask directly. Okay, so I would like to personally thank everybody who attended our session. I would like to thank Manar, Ala, Amani, Anu, Atiya, Baba, Wasimuddin Muhammad, Budur, Champi, Trial, Hala, Hiba, Hussein Al-Blushi, Khalid Mansour, Manahil, Sajid, Muhammad Adil, Nagla, Abu Hussein, Najwa, Nof Al-Blushi, Prati. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name in an incorrect way. Patel, Rasha, Salman, Samira, Siham, Subia or Subia, Tanisha, Wafa, Yahya, Moza Shariani, Wafa Al-Baqir, Saeed Al-Saidi. Thank you all for attending this session, and thank you, Rishabh, for your time, and also thank you for agreeing to bring your program into Oman, and
Yeah.
hope to see you in next sessions as well, inshallah. And I hope that people register, and also encourage their kids, or the students they know from the schools to join this program. So thank you, Rishabh.
Thank you all for attending the session. Thank you for taking your time to just join the introduction of the sessions, and I really look forward to seeing all of you all there. And please spread the word about it to your family, your relatives, cousins. Ask them, get them to join as well. It's free STEAM learning and it's for everyone. So I hope to see you all in my sessions. Thank you.